Welcome back to Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. This is Juliet Hahn here with my co-host Brent Sopel. How are you? I did not see the numbers on my side.
There was 5 and went 5.
I'm thinking I did not see it because I was staring at. Maybe it only went on your side.
Wow. Nothing to say anymore.
Oh my God. All right. Should we just dive into it?
Yeah, let's. After that start, let's go.
Right. So we, of course, obviously get a lot of questions asked.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times that we don't share really the questions, the answers, but we are constantly, especially you, talking to people in the back end. One of the questions was, I don't know what to do. I'm beyond frustrated and really sad, which, when you start with that, it's like you could feel it and you get throw up in your mouth a little. I know I do. And then it's like, what do we do when our school district technically checks all the boxes? I mean, that's what school districts do. That's I feel like part of their job. We're just going to check the boxes and move forward. For states, for training, for teachers, but also their kids, but they still have half their kids not reading at grade level. Can we sue? What do I do? Do I file a complaint? This is coming from a state that I always thought had some good resources in it. Do you want me to say the state?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Okay. So Ohio, where we know that there's a lot of science stuff going on, but clearly it's still not reaching in certain areas, the kids. And so I'm going to let you.
Yeah, no, obviously we're not going to hold back, the state because Ohio is supposed to be one of the front runners of, dyslexia. So let's dive into the question. They're supposed to, all states, teachers are supposed to be doing continuous education. They're supposed to be doing all this education stuff, certificates and all that bullshit. 100% of the education that is created for learning disorders are created by people that don't have learning disorders. So no matter what the education is supposed to be, for teachers or for special ed, for teacher assistants, whatever that in the education world, it's created by a person who doesn't have them. So no matter if they've done them or if they haven't done them, they still don't understand. And, Friday night, I went to an event here in Chicago. It's for one of the schools. There's only a couple schools in Illinois that has a Hyde Park school. It was a school. And I'm sitting at a table. I went with, with Logan's parents. And obviously, they're big supporters of the foundation. Logan's being dyslexic, and he's been out at the events. And I'm sitting by two people. I had a mom sitting next to me who kid's dyslexic. I said something about a school and she turned her nose up at me like she was. Then she went on stage and said, "How great the school!" Not sits down and start having a conversation, and she didn't have much to say for the next 5 minutes because me and my stats and I know this world. But she had an attitude like she was fucking king shit. Because where's your kid? What grade's your kid? I'm like, no, I don't have a kid that goes here. I said, I'm here with this family. Their son is at the I think Lamont camps. I think they have 3 campuses or something. Numbers didn't add up what they're saying. People have been around for 25 years. They've only had 1,000 people graduated, $5 million in scholarships. And me in my head going, this is adding up. Meanwhile, they do a live auction with a house for about a $20 million house. This is the people. That's your teacher. That was one of the teachers' houses. $20 million, between $10 and $20 million house in Colorado. I'm like, and that's a teacher, and you've only raised $5 million. Oh, I'm missing something here. So, but back to the point, and it was a doctor running the school, and they had one of the students' alumni come back, and it was 25th year, and the kid went there for like grade 2 and 3, then left, but they brought and went and used to do some tutoring after, but then he came back, and that's who you had to speak for after 25 years. You couldn't find somebody who's been there for the full 6 or 7 years because it's that special. No.
Yeah.
And why I got into it wasn't rabble. None of that made sense.
Yeah, no, it wasn't rabble.
As this question, as this poor mom who's heartbroken, what can I do? So my long-winded answer is, no matter when the district or the principals or deans or superintendents, whatever it is, say that their teachers are doing, continuing ed or education on this, always remember, it's never going to add up, because the education was created by people that don't have, just dyslexia, ADHD, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia. They don't have any of those. So there's, as we hear about, we talk about this, that big portion is missing. I think she said in there, or did I just hear that in my head? Should we sue?
No, you heard it.
100%. Go after it. Your tax dollars are being spent in the wrong way. Now go ahead, because I can keep going forever.
Well, it's no, please, I love that. And there's so many things, and I know some of our longtime listeners are going to hear this message a number of times. Now, we bring this message up a lot. We do this actually on purpose, because you don't know when it's going to click for someone to be like, oh my God, right? How many times have we had that where it's like, oh my gosh. So we bring it up in different angles. That is the reason why we're talking about this right now. Again, the other thing is, what the foundation is doing is we are educating people like this so they can then have the tools. So I'm going to throw it in there, and I'm going to do it earlier. Sopelfoundation.org. Donate. Like, if you're looking for a foundation to donate to, just donate to this because of these conversations, because of what we are doing in the back end. And to that,
and I'll just root back, cut off. So a lady that sat down had an attitude. I'm in Chicago. I don't say this very, obviously I'm a public figure in Chicago. Everybody knows who I am when I walk in that room, right?
Yep.
And she had no idea I had a charity foundation about dyslexia. She had no idea. When I said my name, they knew who I was. So I'm the biggest public figure in Illinois right now when it comes to dyslexia, right? And, with what I did. And she had zero clue I had a foundation. So.
No, and that's the thing, because again, people are going to hear it when they need to hear it. So we need to talk about it often and bring it up. And this question is it actually hurts my heart in so many ways, because we had to sue, right? We had to sue. And like, not everyone has the ability to do it. I remember, and we probably haven't talked about this in a long time, I was never so heartbroken and felt so alone in that process of getting Montgomery where he needed to be. And when I have someone that reaches out and will say, hey, I'm just starting this, the pit in my stomach, I'm like, oh, okay. How many more, like in my head, I'm like, how many more years? You just got to get through it. And if we can give them the tools to be able to do it just a little, like you're not alone and you can take a breath, because we understand it makes it all better. But the second you say to a parent, right, after you talk to them, right, anytime they go into the IEP meeting, like, oh my God, they were like, how do you know so much? Why do you know so much? Like,
and they get scared big time.
big time. And then that's when you get things that you don't realize you need to ask, where all of a sudden you're like, well, no, everyone's being really great about this. They're going to not go above and beyond because that is their job, not to go above and beyond because of a money situation above and beyond.
And they don't know how to go above and beyond.
Above and beyond. Right. Right.
They
Exactly.
They don't know what that means. It's, and obviously I knock a lot of teachers, but they're not educated, right? So some of them don't care, but some aren't educated enough to go that above and beyond that you just mentioned. And I know a family here in Illinois, they sued, and there was a gag order put into the proceedings. So when they settled, they had a gag order. So obviously they told me, but obviously I can't name the school district because I'm not going to put their kid in jeopardy. But what school puts a fucking gag order on it?
So they can't talk to other parents to be like, this is what you deserve and what you're supposed to get. Right. And there's so many layers to this. And when teachers go to continuing education, a lot of them, you have to do, it's like doctors, you have to go to, you have to go to continuing education. Not all of them do, we're not talking to every single teacher because we know there's teachers out there that want to do the best for their students. I mean, we had Colleen on, who has, the 5 Ds. She wants to go because she wants to be better. And she's so cute as she's jumping into the education. I hope that it stays, right? That she doesn't 100%. Realize the system smushes her so bad, because we've had a lot of people that we've talked to that has. I went in to make a difference and I just got spit out because I couldn't handle, being so frustrated all the time. That happens. Okay. That happens in a lot of professions, medical. I mean, we can go into so many different things where that happens. We know that that's a natural thing, but the reason why we're bringing it up and we keep bringing it up is because a teacher might be like, I got to get some credits for continuing education. Oh, I'll go and listen to this. If they don't care or don't understand, it's really, you're going to be like, not understand. So I'm going to change that before you can.
No, there's still, it's that piece of not having, you've heard me say, they've done studies. They've only known 10% of the capability of a brain. Okay. Now you're studying on a brain, which we only know 10% of capabilities. You don't have these learning disorders. So how much are you missing of what really is going on? And that's the piece that I keep harping about and I keep talking about. So it's not the understanding. They're not teaching you a whole piece of a pie. I'm a fat fuck. I want to eat the whole pie. Don't hand me a half a pie because now I'm pissed. They're only having you. You're coming to the Thanksgiving dinner with half a pie. How many people would look at you if you're coming in and walk in a front door of a family gathering with half a pumpkin pie? You'd be like, Juliet, what the fuck is this? Where's the rest of it?
You'd be talked about behind your back a lot.
Right. So that's exactly it. So we're walking in to the Thanksgiving dinner with half a pie every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great analogy. And there's the reason why I'm having a hard time finding my words is because I have so many things I want to say, because there's so many angles and it's so in depth from the understanding, not having it. And then you do have teachers, as I said, that do really care. They don't have it, but they want to make a difference. And they see that reading, is an issue and they want to learn about it. And they can still make a difference in a different way when you have the understanding because you actually live it. I mean, anyone can think about a life experience that they've actually lived and they're like, oh, I just get it more and I know how. Right. Yes, there's some people that you can learn from, and I think we went through it. What is the compassion versus... so now I'm going to say it. Now I'm going to forget the other word. So it's you can never understand completely to somebody, whatever happened to that person completely, if you didn't have it happen to yourself. Right. Exactly.
That's it. So I think that half a pie, is in everything. You'll never have a full pie unless you've had it to happen to us. And then,
exactly.
In the dyslexic world, every district, every superintendent, I say, when I say everyone, I've never met, somebody, the head of the district or superintendent, that has dyslexia, dysgraphia. I haven't met. So when I say everyone is so far, obviously I'm staring at 50. Elizabeth,
You just jumped
the other
yourself.
day, I said, Elizabeth, if we had a kid together, how many teachers you think I'd lose it? She goes, we get kicked out of every school because of you. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I talk, but
yeah.
So the half the pumpkin pie is 99.9% of the teachers, of the teacher assistants, of the deans, of the principals, all the way up the scale in the education portion. And the hardest part that I have is that they are some of the most egotistical people in the world. I know. They won't. You can't even have a conversation with them. So as you're sitting there in a school, as you're sitting there in a classroom, and this is actually going to happen to me. So the little girl's parents here in Illinois, they passed a law in 2024 that they will no longer accept neuropsych evaluations.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you come in, they will evaluate their own kids and make their own decision. So again, I had a mom reach out, I think in May, end of May. Right now we are this was last week, so March, we're at the end of February. So 3 months. They get 90 days to extend it. They took it right to the 90th day. So that tells you how much they don't care about kids. Because yes, am I saying they're busy? Not saying they're busy, but they're, instead of trying to get there in 30 days to start figuring out, they extended it right to 90 days. And they said, well, in that meeting, we'll go over our numbers and we'll decide if your daughter
qualifies.
If it qualifies for things that, through our numbers, if she qualifies. So you're going to wait 90 days. You're not going to tell the mom what the numbers are. You're going to sit there and pretend that you are just going to look at those numbers now and say, no, she doesn't qualify. You already know. So I said to her, okay, respond to that. Okay, no problem. The date's confirmed for whatever, May 22 or whatever it was. But I need to see those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I need to know your answer 2 weeks out before that meeting.
Yeah.
So they're trying to walk into a meeting with a mom who's walking in emotional because her daughter's struggling.
Oh, motherfuckers.
And I don't know if her husband's going to be there. There's times where the husband can't. There's work. The bills have to be sometimes. Yep. I think you did.
Dan didn't. He never did in the beginning, and then all of a sudden I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to fucking kill someone. He's like, oh yeah.
So again, we're doing this. So we're walking in there. So I don't know if she. So she asked me to come and advocate for her, but doesn't understand it. Doesn't have it. And you want to blindside this mom who will be crying within the first 2 minutes of this meeting.
Yeah.
And then she will not have another. So I said to her, no problem. Tell them you need the answers. And parents, when you go in there, hit record on your phone. You don't have to tell them. Hit record on your phone. Put it down, hit record. Because you're going to get emotional. You're going to hear words that you've never heard before. It's kind of putting them in doctor terms. You're not going to understand what it means. Put it on phone so that, maybe you're not there with your husband. Then you can play it. So, because you're not going to hear you're not going to hear the quick words. So it eliminates a little bit of a problem between you guys, being a third person. Oh, I think she said this, or, because you're not going to remember. You're not going to understand. You're going to be so emotional. But then you can hear it.
Yeah,
then you can play it again.
That's very, very smart.
It's. Why do you think divorce lawyer is the one that wins? No, it's a divorce. It's emotional. It's not. You're not making an educated decision. You're always making an emotional decision.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing when it comes to your kids. So again, on the recorder on your phone, hit it. They don't need to know it. You don't have to tell them. You're not airing it out.
No, you need to listen to it again. Yeah,
right?
Listen to it again when you're not so emotional.
Because they will change your words. They will twist things. That's what they do, right? They don't understand. So, oh, you said this. Well, then maybe the teacher or the special ed teacher or whoever it is, the counselor, figured out it's an easier way to do this or this. They'll change those words. Whatever's easiest for them and cheapest for them is what they're going to do. So,
and you don't know how many meetings that they've had in that day, because it's like, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it is one of those things. And I remember realizing, oh my gosh, Montgomery's just a number. Like there's 100%. And I was devastated because I was like, everyone loves this kid. I mean, his teacher cried in the meeting because she knew, I mean, and I'm not going to go into it, but like she on the side was like, this is what you have to do. Oh my God, I can't even believe this. There's going to be people that do, but
all kids are numbers.
Yeah, they really are.
We got 350 million people here in the United States. We're all the number. Every single one of us.
Yeah.
Including your kids. So you have to remember that. We've heard this a number of times. Obviously, yourself, some other people that we've spoken to. Oh, the teacher loves us. It's not saying they don't,
right?
But Montgomery to Paul to Susie to Julie to Peter to Huba and Duba, whoever, your kids are a number. Always will be. In the education system. Mm-hmm. So you always have to remember that. They are just a number, not their name, not who they are, it's got nothing to do with who they are or where they came from or what color or what race or what nationality or what their first language is or sex. It's got nothing to do with it. Mm-mm. They're all a number, including my kids.
Yep.
And grandkids. So it's the quicker that we understand that, it's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you're paying massive taxes, and obviously you're in New York, we're in Illinois, the stupid the property taxes and thing. We're paying all these taxes. What's it going to?
Yeah,
your kids are a number, always will be a number. Always have to remember that. Does it suck to hear that? Yes. Does it hurt to hear that? Yes.
And a lot of people are like, no. Not believing us. I would have been that person been like, no, we're different. Oh my God, we're lovable.
So you're going to be the unicorn, eh? You're going to be the one and only person. How long has the United States been around? 100 and how many years? Or
I was like, there's no way. There's no way.
No, you're going to be the only one? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, but there are people doing that right now, being like, well, no, I have a relationship with the principal, right? Or I mean, I've even spoken to people that are teachers in district. And their kids are going up for the IEP and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, no, I know what's happening. You can't do that. I already know that. And they're like,
your kid's a number. Yeah.
You're trying to motherfuck me. And I already know that. And they're like, oh my God. And that's when it clicks. It always will click. And we understand that it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't. Because I literally, if I was going through this in the beginning, listening to this, I'd be like, "Oh, silly, no." I'd
well,
like, "Oh, the principal loves us."
How many people, you're so negative, right? They're always right. You included. No,
I didn't say negative. I said you. My dad did say realist, yes, and we have talked about that. But I didn't say negative. I said you do look at things in more of I think whatever. Go ahead.
No, but when it comes to this portion of it,
yeah,
there is no sunshine.
Right. None.
So I'm not trying to be the always being the I got to get a new T-shirt, the Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to tell you how it is. And does it suck to hear that? Yes. But if I don't tell you or someone doesn't tell you, so you can have some understanding walking into that meeting, then you're going to get blindsided.
Yep. And as each state, like, as we know now, we don't know what's going to happen, but the more that you can understand of like, okay, this is what my rights are, because you have rights and there are things that you can fight with. And a lot of times, again, it really sucks. But the more the squeaky, what is that saying? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. What is it?
Sure. But you scare
Yes.
them. If you walked in there with information, they get scared.
Yeah.
Because
They're
they
like, "Oh,
know they know that they can't push you around, right?
Right.
And that's why I always say threaten a lawyer, because then the conversation goes completely differently.
Mhm.
They eat the parents up that like, oh, okay, we trust you. Oh, perfect. Good. Now I'm going to eat you alive because this is going to be easy, right? Because I know exactly
Yep.
what to say to you and how to push it and how to make it look pretty, and I'll do this like in a hockey analogy, parents put, there's sticks out there and there's tires and all this fancy stuff. It's just to fool the parents. They're not doing anything.
Right.
Same thing as they're doing in that meeting, just fooling you.
Mm-hmm.
They make it look at all the bells and whistles and look how pretty that chandelier looks or how pretty that light looks or that door. You walk
Smoke
in there
and mirrors,
smoke
right?
and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. So it's so important. And yes, to the person that asked us, and we'll, obviously address it with them also, but you should file a complaint. You should talk to the lawyer. Now, here's the other thing is I was always the type of person that was like, no, I'm, people that are just like, oh, I'm going to sue. Like, that's ridiculous. Try to work it out. Do all these things. I was that person that's like, we don't need to like blow things up right away. In certain situations, you do, because things happen faster. You get the respect, which is annoying. I mean, it is very annoying. Right.
Well, I'm from Canada, can't sue anywhere. So, US, you have to look at this differently.
Yeah.
Somebody slip and fall, you're suing, you hear about suing or car accident suing. This is something that's different. Everybody knows how a car operates, right? Everybody knows how that system. Oh, I got hurt my neck, right? Now you can sue. Okay. This education system, it's completely different. Right, you're trusting in them.
Yeah,
they, this is, you need to. There's no time to work itself out. Take a look at the state of Ohio. They don't recognize the word dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't recognize the word dyslexia, how are you supposed to evaluate, diagnose a kid that has dyslexia, and give them the resources that they need if you can't use that word?
And that's why they still have a tremendous amount of people not reading at grade level. If we really, I would put money on it. If we broke out every state and looked to see how many people are at reading level, like the numbers, people would be like, wait, what are you talking about?
People, right now, there's people that are suing states to keep the 504. That's great. You can keep the 504. But there's a lot of these states you can't even say certain words. Right. So what good does that 504 do? Absolutely nothing when you're not going to use an example, even say the word dyslexia in an evaluation, in a diagnosis. So that 504 doesn't do shit for me. So all these people want to go in there, look at me, I'm helping. How are you helping? To put your name out there on a lawsuit? How's that helping? No. If you really want to help, let's go after them.
Right.
Let's make that word, right? Let's take out, you get into, lawyers and paperwork written out, it's written certain ways so they can do certain things. Or if you really want to help, you really think that you're big time, well, let's do this right. Let's get these words, get dyslexia. The UK, they just took out the whole word dyslexia in the whole state. Or excuse me, whole country. So what are you doing? You're just making yourself look good, right? To get money, to get a job. But what are you really doing? Nothing.
Mm-hmm. And it's, again, we've said this every single time, but it always blows my mind. The fact that there's so much being done in the research world of like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. And it's worse and worse. It was a shit show before COVID, but even after COVID, the levels are even worse. And what are people doing? They're just, hey, let's just sit here and fight and say, look at this research I just did. I just did this in my center, and this is what the brain is doing. This is how we should teach kids to read. This is what we should be doing. And it is, such bullshit. And especially when all of a sudden you realize as a parent, wait, my kid is struggling. Okay, what do I do? And then it's like, there's no place to find it. You get, feedback from some people, you get certain feedback from others. And it's like, how do you navigate it? It's scary, it's awful, and it sucks. And you just need to have the education of it. Like going on Google. I mean, we just talked about this. I was like trying to research stuff and I was like, oh my God, you can't even find it. It's useless. Like Google.
I told the one mom, don't do it. You'll make yourself crazy.
Crazy. They'll send you places and you're like, wait, that said 19, whatever. That study that just had there is from 2017. We're here. And it's totally different, but that's still popping up. It is such a shit show. So much more than it's ever been. Yeah.
And just recently I talked to one of the top neuropsychs in Illinois and I'm having a conversation. She's like, I'm getting a lot of pushback in the last 6 months with my neuropsychs. So she's the top neuropsych. She had no idea that state of Illinois passed a law in 2024 that they can't take neuropsych. She's like, really? I didn't know that. So you're charging $5,000.
Right. And they can't even use it.
And you can't even use it. And you have no idea why. Well, I'm a dumb, fat, washed up hockey player. How the fuck do I know it and you don't?
Well, there's so much disconnect. So many layers of disconnect. These layers are like, oh my God, it's so good because we're doing X, Y, and Z. And then you go, and I will repeat this because I know I've repeated the last probably 6, but there's universities out there that the head of their education program doesn't realize that you can't use the word dyslexia in the trenches, like in IEPs in schools, because they're teaching. And they shouldn't know that. Why should they know that? There's so much information that every person that is involved in education should know. And there's not. They have no clue and no idea. So how are they even, again, as you say, like they can't even teach because they don't understand it. But then they also don't understand what is happening in the trenches where these poor kids are just literally being left to flail around. Right.
And, and then, obviously teachers have never been in the trenches because they don't have our trenches. No, you haven't been in somebody's trenches if you don't have it.
Right. And school was easy for a lot. We talk about that.
That's what I said on Friday night. I'm like, teachers, school is easy for 99% of them. So they just go, this is easy. This is great. This is fun. So I'm just going to continue this and do my education in this and work in it. Great.
And they have no idea that someone actually school is hard for them.
Oh.
And what? No, that's not possible unless you're dumb. Right? There's no, like, no, you don't seem like you're dumb. So I don't understand why schools, like why you didn't do well on that assignment. Oh, it must have been because you didn't try. Oh, it must be because of this, right? Oh, it must be because of that. So
yeah,
it's about the education. It's about learning what you need to know, especially if you're going into these things. And I know it's really hard for people to be like, okay, well, how does everyone get this? This is why I always say like, rate, review, and share, right. share, because you don't know who needs to hear this, because who is ready to go into an IEP meeting and they're like, okay, I did my research and I think I feel good, but
And so many people don't talk about this.
No.
It's embarrassing. They don't want to admit their kid's struggling or whatever. So, so that conversation is. So when you talk about, like, rate, review, and share, is you have no idea what's going on in somebody else's 4 walls.
Exactly.
And what they're, I'm not telling you, it's not fun to admit your kid is struggling.
Mm-mm.
Or your kid is getting bullied, or my kid's not reading at grade level, or because what do you automatically do? Point the finger back at you.
I was going to say, you blame yourself. Right.
What's that? You point your finger at? What's that saying? Point it back at yourself or something?
Yeah, no, we're really good with our saying. But it is very true, and it is not that hard just to be like, hey, I heard this, let me share it. It also helps us get the word out more, and it helps shed light on what we are talking about and what we obviously are so passionate about.
Right.
And it's not just because of our own struggles. It is because we see how messed up this world is. And if we can give a little insight of what we've been through and what we've learned, it's, as you say, you don't want anyone to ever go through what you went through and to feel that.
No, that's why we started the foundation. That's why we started the foundation. That's why we started the podcast. That's why you started stalking me. It's no,
Well, yeah.
no,
it's-
Huh?
No, I started talking because I was like, wait, we could do really good things with word blindness.
And that's what we talk about is honest about it. How many kids are there actually, in the US? I don't know if I've ever I'm sure I've done that research.
I'm sure you're a very good researcher. Well, as you're looking that up, it is really funny. Someone reached out to me on LinkedIn and I was like, oh, I think I went to school with this kid. I know I went to school with this kid, but I don't think he went to my high school. And then it hit me. I think he was in sped classes with me in middle school. And I was like, oh my God. And I got like a one of those feelings that you're like, okay, there was definitely not like, oh, we hung out or I knew him from, this or that. It was like definitely like, bringing back school memories. Go ahead. How many?
So it said there were 73 million people under the age of 18 in the United States, which includes children 5 to 29, because that's what I put in, is about 21.7% of the U.S. population. So you got about 20% of the U.S. population that are in education right now.
Mm.
So that's, 20% of 350 million.
Don't. I don't even know how to go about that. So, you're making me sweat. I don't like any of that.
I don't know. A lot.
Yeah, a lot.
And then you start breaking those numbers down. You're talking, hundreds of millions, millions and millions and millions of kids struggling.
Yep. And a lot of them, sometimes are struggling in silence because they've figured out how to, okay, I can try to go in here. But I was, and then we're going to leave it at this, but I was talking to someone, I think it was this weekend, about what it takes to go to school when you're struggling and all of the things that you are thinking about before. Because we were talking about anxiety and I was like, just like, let's picture this. The person's like, oh my God, I don't really have anxiety, but you just made me so uncomfortable. And I was like, that's anxiety. And they're like, wait, so before you would go into school, I was like, you would think like before school started, like, okay, what teachers are going to get me? Which ones are not? What's going to be hard? Okay, how do I like navigate? Then it's like the first day and you're like, I can't read my schedule. Am I going to be able to get into my locker? I mean, all of these things. And I like went down it and she was like, oh, okay, I hate everything you just said. I was like, yes, but that is a typical before normal I started day. School, or that's a normal day. And then going in, okay, you have to do X, Y, and Z and you have a test or you maybe didn't do well on something. And you just anticipate all of the ways that you can get around things. How are you, if someone calls on you, how are you going to navigate it? And you're not even thinking about what you're actually learning at all.
Nobody's born with anxiety. So you've got a lot of people that I've come across. I was diagnosed with general anxiety in grade 7 or grade 6 or, freshman or grade 9. Why?
Right. Exactly. Well, we're going to leave it there. And I'm going to say what I say every single time, like, rate, review, and share. Seriously, you don't know who's coming into the end of the year. IEP meetings are starting to come up. And it's like for the next year, there's so much that can be done with just someone listening and having a little understanding. So we will see you for another episode of Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. Thank you, Brent.